Hello and welcome to another Lockbeard Random Live. Let me know if you're here. As you can see, I've already posted the link to the live stream TV guide. Hello and welcome to another Lockbeard Random. You can go ahead and grab it. There's probably going to be some shows on there that those of you interested in the paranormal stuff haven't seen before. There was a new addition just recently, and that would be Something to Sasquatch About channel. And I guess the show is the same name, Something to Sasquatch About, with Sean. So his show is on Monday nights at 8 Central and Wednesday nights at 7 Central. And he has had some really good guests. Everyone is complimenting him on that. He's done really good. Now some other shows you might want to check out on there that I like the Beast Guys. They have two separate channels. It's Mark and Larry, and they host together on each of their shows, but they're on separate channels. So the one channel is Beast of the Woods. The show name is Going Live, and it's on Mondays at 8 p.m. The other channel is called Sawdust Beast with two T's at the end of the dust. The show is named Beast TV, and it's on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Central Time. Also check out Mogollon Monster. I think a lot of the people here are already going to that channel. The show name is WTF Live, and it's on at 9 p.m. Tuesday and 10 p.m. Thursday Central Time. All the times on the TV guide are in Central Time, so I don't know how. You'd think there might be some way to get it where you could automatically click it over and it would change all the times to what your time zone is. If there's some way to do that, let me know. I don't know how to do it if there is. Let's see who's here so far. Got Danny, greetings. Welcome. Got Big Rob. Hello. So on the thumbnail, you saw that picture. I don't know if y'all seen this around. Of course, I'm not going to watch the new He-Man show, but it's just another example of how Hollywood's changing everything, and they don't understand anything, and they don't seem to care about losing a lot of the fans who are sick of their nonsense. Those women barely look like women in that picture. You know, that's Teela. Even Evil Lynn looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Strong female characters do not require the female to act and look like a man. A strong female character can be perfectly feminine and still be a strong female character. That's what they don't seem to understand. Or they do, and they're just, I don't know what they're thinking. But, I mean, you saw that picture, and that's what they do all over as much as they can. Bigfoot and Honest here, what's up? Welcome. What do you guys want to talk about tonight? I've been in a bunch of random chats here and there, all kinds of subjects going on. people in Australia are not having a good time right now with the way their government's acting, trying to enforce lockdown. It's ridiculous. So, yeah, I don't even know if we want to go down that road. But because we did last night, and I hope things get straightened out over there. But, what do you think the United States is going to do going forward? I mean, I feel like they wanted to impose stricter measures on us and to get us to submit to continuing tyranny in the United States, but Americans just aren't going to put up with it. But what are they going to try next? They've already told us there's a new strain, and I have a feeling they're going to keep saying there's a new strain every so often to keep restoring the fear in this thing that I still haven't been convinced is even real. I mean, looking at some of the facts so far that seem to indicate that it never existed, but conveniently or originated in China, where we can't go there and confirm anything. We have to believe just all the crap they've told us. So, what are we going to do? Is the stream still functioning? The live is at 8 p.m. The other channel is called Sawdust Beast with 2 T. So, what do you guys feel like talking about tonight? Probably don't want to talk about that crap. Talk about some Bigfoot or whatever. Danny says his son and his wife and 2 of their kids are sick. So is the implication that is the doctors trying to tell them that they have the virus, or do they not know? Yeah, just a flu. Most of it was just a flu. There were doctors whistleblowing this, but the media is trying to push the fear of this thing that appears to me to be fake. There's no evidence that it existed. It was a lie. And these doctors were trying to tell people, look, there's no additional new people dying here this year than any other year. Every year flu kills some people. They have weak immune systems, pre-existing conditions, very old, and flu gets some people. They just called it this other thing because they wanted to create this whole scenario. So if they try to tell you it's COVID, man, you believe it if you want to, but look into those tests. What do those tests actually show? The doctors don't know. They were just told this test indicates COVID. Well, no, it doesn't. They just say, there was the people who were saying that they didn't even get tested and got results. So it's just ridiculous. Danny says, they, like me, no shots. Yeah, I certainly won't. Yeah, we all should be. Big Rob wants to talk about Bigfoot. I got some things for Saturday night uh, on Lockbeard Phenomena, which is Saturday nights. Um, Definitely going to talk some Bigfoot, but we can talk Bigfoot now too if you want. Um, what kind of actual evidence have you seen that you feel is legit evidence? There's a lot of people that say they have evidence or that they know. I know they're real. I saw them. Okay, you saw them, but that's not going to be good enough to get everybody on board. If you want to be commonly accepted thing, you're you're going to you're going to have to come up with some hard evidence. Danny says everyone who takes a shot will probably turn into a zombie in a couple of years. Well, who knows? You know, if it causes neurological damage, I mean, it's flat out killing some people. Um, it amazes me that so many people are still buying into this absolute nonsense. Check out the video of the footprint you put up today on the Daily Dan blog. Got a pretty good one. Did you take a cast? See, footprints are, I mean, they're good evidence, but you know what a lot of people are going to say? They're going to say, well, it's just fake. Somebody faked it, you made that. And it seems really hard to believe that there's just so many of these prints found and that they're all fake. It's just hard to believe that they're all fake. Um, but I'm still kind of skeptical. So um, a lot of them aren't very clear, and uh, some of the people coming up with prints, for they seem to be people in some cases that they have a story to sell, they want attention, or they want to sell their book, and they don't care if they promote it with legitimate evidence or fake evidence. We just don't know. Danny says, I don't do cast. It's from a video from last year. So it's not a recent footprint find. He's at the end of the dust. Sure. That's Teela. Even Evil Lynn looks like, well, yeah, Arnold Schwarzenegger. I might have seen it already, but I don't remember. Don't remember. So what else? What else is going on out there? I'm not in my normal location right now. I'm in a hotel. Had to travel somewhere for a mission. So I'm sure folks are wondering what they're looking at or where I'm at, because normally I'm in my van / command center. Definitely feel like YouTube is acting strange. Is Bigfoot Non still in here? I saw them talking about some stuff today over on another channel. I tried to chime in, but I don't think anyone wanted to hear me. Hello, Sander Piper. Welcome. They were talking about Atlantis, which I think I've mentioned here before. From the description of it, because it's always been in doubt whether it existed or not. But this place in Africa certainly fits all the description. It's called the Eye of the Sahara, and if you look at the satellite photos of the area, you can clearly see that water has flowed. It looks like from east to west across the land there. And you can also find whale bones in the desert, further indicating that the land there was once underwater. There's just a bunch of things about the place that fit with the Atlantis story. So, you would think, from what I've looked at on the deal, you would think it would be, kind of well known. You would think the media would jump on that. It's a pretty big story. We found Atlantis, but I don't know. I don't know why they. I have my suspicions. If we're talking about an ancient civilization that had potentially some technologies that we don't have, well, they don't want us snooping around archaeological sites such as those. And so maybe that's why. But I'm reasonably certain that that's it. The Eye of the Sahara. You should all check it out. I don't know if Randall Carlson has really addressed it. I think he did. It's called the Reachot structure, and it's this huge circular structure in the Sahara, and it looks like it's Atlantis. The entire area, and geologically, like they know already that it can rise and it can go down. Like, the land isn't static; it can go up and down. And it's well known to geology, and that area, they know that it's risen up. So now I think it's, I want to say it's at an elevation of like 1,200 feet at this point. But at one point in the past, it was much lower and would have had water in it. So, that, along with other things, it has the concentric circles. You can, look at the satellite picture and the mountains where they're supposed to be, and it's just it makes more sense than Antarctica. I know a lot of people thought it was Antarctica. Now, Antarctica may have been uh, part of the larger civilization, but the city of Atlantis um, is most likely the Richat structure, the Eye of the Sahara, and you know, but that it may have been part of a much. I mean, it looks like we had a worldwide civilization in the past, thousands of years ago, and yeah, Antarctica definitely, I think, was part of it. Because of the Pierre Reese map. How did they know what the continent looked like underneath the ice? Well, at one point, it didn't have ice, and humans were around for that, but nobody tells anybody this stuff, right? Then he says he thinks it's under Antarctica. Well, it's interesting. Sandra says, wasn't there a show on TV about this? There may have been. There may have been. Um, in regards to Antarctica, I mean, it's interesting some of the politicians that go down there and visit, like, what are they doing down there? What are they so interested in? And I think that it's possible that some remnants of that ancient civilization are there under the ice and have been discovered and possibly have some technology from the past there. Um, and if that technology is more advanced than some of the technologies we have now, well, that might explain why they want to hide its existence from us. It doesn't make any sense that they would not reveal this stuff to us if it was just some Bronze Age people or Stone Age people. They must have had something very interesting for them to want to keep this secret. But more and more people are figuring this out. That there's archaeological sites around the globe that indicate that there was something big going on prior to the Younger Dryas impact about 13,000 years ago, and they got knocked on their ass. It would appear. Danny says, have you ever heard of Graham Hancock? I have his book, Fingerprints of the Gods. You should read that. Yes, and Graham does a lot of work with Randall Carlson. Um, in fact, they were together on some of these excursions, looking at some of the massive geological features that indicate that some major catastrophe happened about 13,000 years ago. Um, One of them was really cool to look at. After there's a flood and the waters recede, there will be these ripples in the sand or even in gravel, right? Now, usually, when you look at those ripples in the sand, they may only be that tall. These ripples that are in the landscape that Randall was showing people, and Graham, uh, were taller than buildings several stories tall. I don't remember how tall they were, but these were massive, unbelievably massive ripples left in the landscape. So big that people are living on them and stuff and amongst them, but it's so big they don't see it. You know, um, and it just indicates that there was a major flooding event, and it affected the whole world for the most part. It didn't flood. Not every inch of the globe didn't flood. That's what the myth is that many people believe. There is no evidence that supports every inch of the globe flooded. But what did happen when the Younger Dryas impact occurred was um, the sea level probably well, first when the impact where it occurred probably liquefied the glaciers in the area and caused some flooding right there near the impact. But uh, the long lasting effect was it caused the sea level to rise 400 feet, where basically it is to this day. Um, so the civilization that existed at the time, probably most of it is underwater, you know, 400 feet or less down where the seashores used to be. So there was a lot of land space that was flooded and never unflooded. The waters never receded. Um, the climate in some of these areas is not the same either. Um, like in Siberia, there were areas there that were forested that are, now kind of a frozen tundra kind of thing. Um, Massive herds of woolly mammoths found, all dead, all killed at once. The potentially the temperature changed so quickly that they didn't have a chance to escape. And that may have been when Antarctica froze too. So, in the interviews I've seen with Graham and Randall, I haven't. Randall doesn't seem to want to say what exactly. So there's certain things he doesn't seem to want to say. Maybe he thinks he needs more evidence before he starts saying it. I'm wondering if he thinks that the globe had a shift of some kind, and because of the impact maybe was big enough that it caused something like that. Because you got areas that were not frozen that are now frozen, and on both hemispheres. So if this is the globe, and Antarctica is over here, the bottom of the globe's here, and the top's here, and Siberia is over here, and so Antarctica and Siberia are in places that aren't frozen. But if the globe turned like that and moved them more to the polar locations, then potentially, it could have caused those areas to freeze, which means some other area unfroze. But Randall didn't say that. He didn't seem to want to commit to an answer on that. At least not that I've seen so far. Danny says there's nothing much left from back then except stonework. Anything made of metal turned to dust thousands of years ago. Yeah, I think that's one thing a lot of people don't realize is they may have had metal structures, but metal rusts. But metal doesn't like to be in a purified state. Like we'll refine it, and then it seems like this great thing while we got it refined, but it doesn't want to be in that condition. and iron will rust completely away. I mean, you put a car out in the field, it'll hang in there for a while, but it eventually it'll be a rusty spot in the field. Um, and cars have only been around, a very short time, and you can find cars that are almost completely gone, sitting out in the field somewhere. So, if a car can't even last 100 years, what makes people think anything from 13,000 years ago is still going to be around? I mean, maybe in the right conditions, maybe it's a dry area, but yeah, most things are going to be gone. Danny says there is a field full of old cars that looked like cars when I was a kid. Now, 45 years later, there's just random engine blocks and junk. Yeah. Yeah, that engine block, that's a big chunk of metal. It might take a little longer. well, I don't claim to be a mind reader, but but yeah, but that doesn't mean that they did use a lot of refined metals, at least not in the way we do. Um, whenever I've been putting my mind to designing a home, um, I'm usually thinking in terms of stone or concrete or something that can't rot, it can't burn, the bugs can't eat it, and it'll last. And I used to be a big advocate of straw bale homes. And most people hear about that and they're like, what the fuck? No, if you look at a straw bale home properly done, it looks like a stucco house with really thick walls. And when they've tested these, the straw bale home is more fire resistant than conventionally constructed homes. It resists tornadoes better, earthquakes. It has far greater insulation value and sound. It's far more sound resistant, so you don't hear things through the walls. That was my favorite type. Forget 2x4s and all that crap. But I've since come across something totally different, and you can stucco this too, or you can brick over the exterior of it. But it's called aircrete, and what they do is they make a foam, kind of like with you can do it with just Dawn dishwashing soap, but ideally you want to get a foaming agent that does a better job of making soap bubbles, and then you put it in this vat and mix it with concrete, and so you end up with this foamy concrete. And you make a form, or maybe you can make blocks, but some people have done domes, but out of this aircrete. So it's this lightweight and concrete block that's got lots of air bubbles in it. So it has those air bubbles make it have a great insulation value. So it has the benefit over the straw bales that, again, even if the wall was broken into, it's not going to burn. If bugs or rodents got into it, they wouldn't really be able to do much with it. The bugs can't eat it. If it did get wet, it won't rot. Um, I saw a video where a guy was holding a piece of aircrete, or he had his hand against it, I think, and it had a blowtorch on the other side of it, and it just doesn't transfer heat. So that's that great insulation value. So aircrete's probably the best thing we have that we could build out of that's economical enough, short of trying to build out of gigantic granite blocks or something. Now that being said, I haven't tried using it, but it certainly looks like a really good option. And you could probably just plaster over it, just like you do with straw bales. But it's very interesting. Very interesting. I never considered that you could create a foamy concrete, and then when it sets up, you have this, lightweight. I think they actually float. Chunks of it, I think, actually float. Danny says gold would still be around. Yeah, gold won't go nowhere. Yeah, I wish more gold would get into my gold pan, though. Dang it. Sandra says, interesting, never heard of this. Yeah. It's hard to figure out what the cost difference is, but it certainly looks to me like your costs would not be higher if you built a home out of aircrete. And I was working on a way to simply and quickly create a home that was, aircrete walls. And then, of course, you got to surface it, though, because you can dig into aircrete really easy. It's someone can come just bury an axe in it, So you need to surface it with something that's really hard, very resilient, like stucco or brick over the outside. I was working on an idea where it would look like those old medieval homes where you see the I forget what you call them, but you see the beams on the outside of the house, and then in between them, it's filled in sometimes with mud or something, or cob, or sometimes it's got stone in there. But it would look like that. And my thought is that when you build that structure, it actually serves as the form, and you put plywood pieces temporarily on it when you fill it with the aircrete, and then you just pop the plywood off, and bam, you got it. But you'll still have to stucco over the aircrete part. So I haven't had the opportunity to try it. I just haven't been building any houses. But it's not the norm. I don't know if you'll see anyone building a lot of aircrete. They're so used to doing it the way they've always done it. And it's hard to get people to change. And I've heard of people trying to build things by unconventional means, and their local, inspectors are like, no, this can't do it this way, you got to do it that way, or they won't approve it, But kind of got off on a tangent there. We assume that just because a civilization becomes advanced, they're going to be like us. You know, we have a hard time seeing outside of our own worldview. Um, what if they were a more advanced civilization than us, and they, you know, they didn't value material possessions at all? You know, so a person's house he may not have a big house. He may not have anything really that he owns other than maybe a knife on his side or something. He's not going to have trinkets and TVs and tons of furniture. You know, he may not value any of that crap. And, you know, buying tons of gifts at Christmas and all this waste that we have, these huge landfills. These are all things we don't think about it. That actually may be very strange to a person from another culture separated from us by, 20,000 years. They would be like, why do these people want to own stuff? They might think on a different extreme. Like, to me, we're extreme materialist in our culture, but they might think on a different extreme. Sort of like if you all watched the movie Fight Club, and there's that scene where they're sitting there talking, and of course we know if we've seen the movie that he's actually talking to himself, but he didn't know that at the time. Anyway, Tyler tells the unnamed main character, because I don't know if y'all seen the movie, but the main character, his name is never given in the movie, and at some point his apartment explodes and everything he owns is destroyed. And he had all this stupid stuff, and he talked about it. The green striped couch and the glassware with little bubbles in it, proving that it was made. He said the little bubbles prove that it was made by the simple, hardworking, indigenous people of wherever. So he lost all this stuff, and he doesn't have a place to go, and he's sitting there talking to Tyler and about all this stuff he's lost, and Tyler says, the stuff you own ends up owning you. So, you got all this stuff, you got to put it somewhere. You got to pay to store it. And of course, if you're doing that, you're paying, insurance, and maybe you're paying on a mortgage, and the more you own, the more you have to pay to keep it. And then you got to worry about, well, somebody gonna want my stuff. Do I need a security system? And it's we've kind of gone down. It's a dead end. Now, maybe some people can pull back. I've tried to pull back. I started trying to adopt a more of a minimalist lifestyle. Oh, I don't know. It's been almost 20 years. I was living in a 3-bedroom house and looking around like, why am I paying? Yes, I probably was going to mention that, Danny. Everyone should watch George Carlin's stand-up routine about stuff. It's one of the few routines that he did where I don't think he cussed once. but yeah, I looked around. I was in a 3-bedroom house, and we're paying bills and all this stuff, and I'm looking around. I was like, do I really need all this? And of course, then my roommates, they wanted to have a party, and this was the we kind of had a Halloween party right after 9/11. This is a crazy story. Um, one of my roommates, I don't know how much else to say about the situation, but one of my roommates, her boyfriend, was a really jealous type, and he thought I was, messing around with her or something. I was trying to make friends with him and stuff, but it was hard, and he didn't speak very good English, and so we had kind of a language barrier. And the girls, my roommates were both women, and they were getting ready for their party. They were really excited and all this stuff, and so and the one girl's boyfriend, his name was Jose. He's already started drinking. He's getting really drunk, and so the party started. And at some point, someone came up to me and said, "You really need to go back there and handle something." I'm like, "What? I'm being social out here." Anyway, I go back to one of the bedrooms to find two of my buddies, pretty big old boys, had Jose. Well, one of them was standing there supervising, and the other one had Jose pinned on the bed, crushing his throat with his arm and yelling at him. And I'm like, well, I don't know what you want me to handle here. It looks like it's handled, whatever it was. Anyway, Jose had thrown a TV into the wall and busted a window, and it was getting all crazy. The reason why this being right after 9/11 was important was because he well, I'm probably saying I need to finish what happened to him. At some point, because I was trying to calm him down and stuff, and it just wasn't working. And my buddies, they were just fed up with him. They both grabbed him, each side of him, and carried him out of the house. I think they ran his head into the door jamb and maybe a table or something, and threw him out in the yard. And then he jumped in his truck and drove off. And then somebody had called the cops, and they got Jose down the road. Now this is where things get kind of crazy. Jose's last name was Ayala, which to most people sounds kind of Middle Eastern, right? At this point, I'm not sure, but he had apparently been going to the Spartan School of Aeronautics and had some materials from there in his truck. And in the police encounter, and this made the front page news in the town we lived in. Apparently I think it was that, because it wasn't just that newspaper it was in, but I think it was in that paper where they even quoted him as calling them fat donut eating pigs. And I guess he claimed to be a bomber. He was claiming that he was, so I don't know if he was just drunk and just saying this stuff because he was drunk, or what if it was real. I don't know. This dude was in my freaking house. Tried to sling blood on the cops. I don't know. It was a mess. anyway, that probably helped spur me along the road of thinking, because heading down a minimalist road. Um, so at some point, I ended up not too long after that living in a little cabin by the lake, and then I moved into a travel trailer, which was a little smaller than the cabin was. And then I just stopped living in that. Even I would just sleep in whatever vehicle I happened to have most of the time. Um, I didn't require like a bathroom because I had already been used to always showering at the gym for years before that anyway. So it's like it wasn't a necessity for me. So that's how I ended up in the van life. There's certain things that are free about it. It's way cheaper to live that way, and um, it's just anytime, like if you don't like your neighbor, it's going to be kind of a big deal for you to get away from your neighbor. If there's anyone around me I don't like, I can just drive away. But maybe more folks should think about trying to reduce the stuff they have. Um, Sandra says, "Boy, isn't that the truth?" Danny says, "Yes, great routine. I think I missed one you had up here. I missed a couple of them you had. Mixing air crate was like doing the volcano in science class. Yeah, it's kind of like that. My dream house would be one of those old missile silos with 5 feet. Yeah, I was looking at some of those. There's still some for sale. Um, Nuclear hardened. I mean, for as far as bang for your buck for how good of an underground bunker you get, that's probably where you're going to get the best bang for your buck as far as how tough of a facility you buy. If you can build your own, underground bunker, but you get one of those missile silos, you're getting a lot for your money, really. There was I don't remember what town it was. I guess there was a school up in Kansas that bought one of those missile silos from the government for $1, and that's where their school is now. Kids are probably mad because every time there's a tornado warning, they don't need to take cover. They're in a nuclear hardened missile silo. But that's good, and really, I think all schools should be underground structures, especially in Tornado Alley at least, but anywhere, because underground homes and underground structures maintain a constant temperature year round. It costs way less energy to heat and cool them, so it just makes sense from that regard. They're not exposed to the element. If there is a tornado, you're safe. You're already in a tornado safe structure. So, doesn't it make sense to keep our children in the safest places we can? Imagine someone, trying to get into such a place. People going and trying to attack schools. Rare as it is, but it happens. I see Sandra's seen the George Carlin stuff routine. George Carlin, man, he understood, liberty. He should have been president. Look at what we get though. Yeah, yeah, the one about government. I think I've already mentioned that one before, although I didn't say exactly. I think, but yeah, he says they don't care about us. None of them do. You know, they stand up there and tell you that they do, and they're going to do all these great things, but nothing ever happens. Um, one side, one side may do a few things to make it look like they're doing something, but really, if you really start looking close at what these two parties do, um, both parties want to infringe upon some liberties, but they choose different liberties, right? Together, they're after all of our liberties if they can get away with it. So this system works great for them because this party over here can take some liberties, and then this one will come back and kind of reel it back a little bit, but not all the way. And then they'll take some liberties, and then this side will come back and they might reel it back a little bit what they did, but then they'll take some liberties, and the result is a continuous slow erosion of our liberties. And Americans are like that frog sitting in that pot of water, and it's going to boil one of these days. But people aren't seeing this. They aren't seeing it. Danny says, so you were a Big Threes Company fan? Me? Oh, you're talking about my two female roommates. I was not a Big Threes Company fan. It just kind of happened. One of them was a friend, and the other one was her friend. I didn't really know her before that. There wasn't anything going on. Sandra says there is always one ass at a party. You can't reason with a drunk. Yeah. But I still wonder now. It's like, what if he really was, what if he really was a terrorist pretending to be a Mexican? I don't really know. You would think his girlfriend would kind of figure that out, but man, I don't know. Hey, Country Boy Explorer, welcome. Oh, everybody's doing okay, I think. Nobody seems to be complaining about anything. Mr. Lee's here. Welcome, Mr. Lee. Everybody's getting their highs and good mornings, and it's morning time for Mr. Lee, I think, over there. Yeah, definitely morning time for Mr. Lee. Danny says everyone should live underground. That's why we don't find life on other planets. We're the only ones stupid enough to live on the surface. You may be right. I mean, if your house is underground, there could be a herd of deer run across the top of your house every night, and that's land space that you didn't destroy. That's habitat for them, kept for them. Your own cattle could graze on your roof. It's just better, for the environment. There'd be less of the problem with the runoff issue, and these floods. Like people got mad at me here recently. Again, every time there's flooding event, and I tell them there are things we can do about this. So like, you can't stop Mother Nature. I'm like, of course it's still going to rain, but humans have done a number of things that make these flooding events worse, and people don't want to admit that we have done this. These floods, none of the floods going on right now in these recent decades should be as bad as they are. Will there still be floods sometimes? Yes, but we've made them worse. Mr. Lee says, I've got lots of catching up to do. Oh, well, it's been a lazy chat, so not too much to catch up on. Danny, hello. You know what I'm guilty of, Mr. Lee? When I'm late to a live show, um, sometimes I'll just reel it back to the beginning if it's early enough and put it on 1.5 or 1.75 speed, and it'll run high speed until it catches up, and then it'll automatically switch to normal. I don't know if it's worth it for mine though. It's not that great. Cowboy says he'd love to live underground. Yeah, it stays a nice temperature underground year round. I mean, it's a little cool for some people, but if you think about it, 55 degrees or so is not near as hard to keep the house warm as, as if it gets down to freezing or, -10, or your energy expenditure is going to be way less. Big Rob saying hi to Mr. Lee. Sharon guys here, welcome. Hello, everybody. Danny says, not worried about the deer, worried about the asteroid impacts and Yellowstone blowing its top. Two biggest maybe could happen thoughts I have. Yeah. It's hard to get people too concerned about Yellowstone because, that happens, it's hundreds of years in between each time it blows. But it's a big freaking deal when it does. I've joked in the past, like that I would never visit Yellowstone because it'd be my luck. That's the day it goes. And according to the geologist, it appears to be well overdue at this point. So it could happen anytime. And they've had some pretty interesting observations to indicate there's some activity going on. Yeah, I think people should try to keep their distance from there, but we keep, the cities keep growing. Our nation isn't making any kind of effort to reduce the number of people too close to Yellowstone, and we probably should. At least warn people, say, look, it's really not a good idea to move too close to Yellowstone. And yeah, asteroid impacts. We're all sitting ducks for asteroid impacts. One of those underground silos might be a pretty safe place most of the time, but if one hit directly on the silo, I'm not sure how safe you would be. It's if it was a big enough asteroid, and even like nukes, I think would still be a danger to you if it was a direct impact. I had a friend who said that he thought that was a stupid idea because some of the other countries are behind and they've gotten information that he thinks that their spies know the facility is there but don't necessarily realize the facility is inactive and they may still have weapons trained on it in case of a major war. So I don't know about that, but I'd still like to have one. Big Rob says you missed all the good stuff, Mr. Lee. Getting some hellos in there. Don't tease me, Mr. Lee says. Yeah, Yellowstone. Yeah. I don't know if we should get too freaked out about it, but I just wouldn't be building a house anywhere near there. And probably wouldn't move any closer than where I am now, that's for sure. But it'll probably affect a vast area of the United States when it does go. It's just, if you say, you say anything about it and the person, is like, well, it's another year, nothing's happened. It's another 10 years and nothing's happened. Most people think in these, human time scales. And if they don't see something happen, for most of their life, they just act like it can never happen, even though we all know it can happen. And it's a case of it's better to be over-prepared than under-prepared. So yeah, multiple generations may live right near Yellowstone, and it never blows while they're living their lives, and they feel like they're okay. But one day it's going to blow, and your great-great-grandchildren could go with it. And they might be cursing your names like, why did you choose to move to this state? Danny says they had more earthquakes in Yellowstone in July than any time since they've been keeping records. Yeah, the activity has gone up. So, it could happen anytime. Or it may never happen. It's possible. Sometimes volcanoes go extinct. But I wouldn't take the chance. Gene says, Sharon, I just found out Mark from Mid-South Cryptid Research is in hospital. Not sure why, but blessings and prayers would be welcomed. Hope he's okay. Yeah. Gene says the fires are getting crazy in the last few years too. Let me tell you something about this. Look, I have an environmental degree, all right? So, I'm definitely not someone that doesn't care about environmental issues, but I have no problem criticizing where they mess up. And they mess up on some stuff. And this is one of them. There are certain people, certain groups, certain organizations that do not want them doing controlled burns, and they fight against it, right? We can't be going out there and burning. Like, you fools. If you don't go out there and do these controlled burns, the dead material builds up. One day a fire starts, and then we got firefighters out there trying to put out fires that really don't want to be put out under conditions where it's a tinderbox, and it's way harder, and sometimes firefighters lose their lives. These organizations trying to stop controlled burns because they think that's the right thing to do. You're harming the environment, or there's this. Look, no. They're doing the best thing they can to save lives. And I can't remember where it was. It was like in the 80s where that's exactly what happened. Every time a fire started, they went out there and put it out. Because, lightning starts fires sometimes. You let it burn. Let it clear out that dead material on the forest floor. Well, they were putting out every fire. If they think it's always the right thing to do to put out a fire in a forest. No, it's not. And what happened was the dead material built up in that forest, and one day it caught fire. And instead of the fire staying pretty, the fire it wasn't very, instead of remaining less intense, right? If it burns regularly, it doesn't get really intense and hot, and it doesn't kill the live trees. But because they kept putting out fires all the time, and the dead material built up, the fire was extremely intense, and it burned up the live trees as well. You couldn't have destroyed that forest better if you clear cut the whole thing. you know, Let the fires burn, supervise them if you want to, even if it's lightning. Uh, but they need to do controlled burns out there. If they want to preserve the trees that took decades to grow, and to save lives and to save people's homes. Speaking of stucco and stuff earlier, I saw a picture where the fires had come through one year, and it was this hillside where you could see there were rows of houses, and all these houses had burned up, but there was one standing in the middle, and it was like a stucco house. I think it had the clay tile type roof on it. It had a fireproof shroud around it. That stucco is good stuff. Conventional construction is not good stuff. It'll just burn in those conditions. So yeah. Sometimes environmentalists do the wrong thing because they aren't thinking things through. They think they know what they're doing, but they don't. They don't have a broad enough education. This is one of my complaints about them. Like for my degree, they usually tell you to get a safety minor. I didn't really care much for the subject. I did take some courses in safety, but I didn't get a safety minor. I got a geology minor, and I took a wide variety of other sciences and even stuff outside science, economics and whatnot, a little bit of law. I think by rights, if they would give you more than one minor, I should have a minor also in botany, economics, health, maybe some other stuff. But by going down these other roads and getting a little education in some other subjects, it gave me a much broader perspective on stuff. While they're over here drilling into environmentalist students' heads, that we got to protect the environment at all costs, and we got to control this stuff. I'm over here also in the course with a geology instructor who was perfectly a perfectly good supporter of nature and the environment stuff, but he said, look, every product that we use, it's got to be either grown or mined. And that's just the reality. If these environmentalists don't want anything to happen to the environment, then they need to start by they don't buy anything. They just need to wander around with no damn mass-produced clothing on, picking fruit or something. But they aren't. A lot of them are driving a car just like everyone else. They're using fossil fuels. They're using steel in their cars that had to be mined. They're using a house that is built out of wood that had to be, harvested from a forest. I mean, can we do it more responsibly? Sure. But saying you can't do it at all is ridiculous. We need to have the products that we use. Lockbeard, cool beer. First time I really got to see it. Good. Well, thank you. I got it. And not all this is actual locks. This is just twisted. But this one is actually a dreadlock. But Maybe one day I'll do the rest of it, but yeah. Thank you. Um, some more highs going on and mornings for Mr. Lee. Hello, Gene. Hello. Sharon says, Gene, yes, ma'am. I put it in chat in Donnie's live. You must have missed it. He has kidney failure and is dehydrated bad. Oh, that sucks. Fire is another good reason to live underground. Yeah, you'd be perfectly safe from that as well. The only problem you might have is earthquakes. But even that, you could probably, if you built it well enough, it would be okay. I've joked a lot of times about the difference between disasters in Oklahoma and California. You know, in Oklahoma, um, tornadoes attack you. The sky attacks you every so often, right? But the ground will lovingly protect you from that sky attack. You go to California, there may not be tornadoes, but the ground attacks you every so often, and the sky won't protect you from that. It don't seem to care. Or there might be a mudslide. Again, the ground's attacking you. Or fires. Now, the ground might protect you from that, but a lot of people don't want to live in underground houses, though. They don't like the idea of it. So, what are you going to do? Missed the other one. He's homeless again, so I worry about him. Agree, poor management, Lockbeard. Yeah, they need to. Yeah, they may not want to pay for it, extra controlled burns, but you're going to pay a lot more when it happens in a disaster scenario and people's homes burn down and people die. It's same for damn tornadoes. Like people, they don't want to, be better prepared for that ahead of time, like the underground homes. When these places get torn up by tornado, I think they should go back and rebuild in a mostly underground scenario, and that way in the future, those people won't have to worry about tornadoes as much anymore. Um, but nobody wants to do the things they need to do ahead of time. It's inconvenient or it costs them more money. Um, they don't want to do it. So I guess they're willing to die for their convenience and to save a few pennies. But underground homes really aren't that much more, expensive to build. You're just building a concrete structure and covering it with soil. Really, it's not that much more. And when you top it off with your energy costs are going to go way down, and you're not going to die in a tornado. It's definitely worth it. Sandra says, hi, Gene. Mark had to go back living in the woods again. He got kicked out of the home he was living in. He was down and out again. Pray is okay. I don't know why they can kick people. I thought, what in the government just paying for people's expenses at this point anyway? I thought they were, I don't know. We think we're the successful country, but we have a homeless epidemic. Yeah, we're not doing as great as we think we are. got a lot of veterans on the street, got mentally ill people on the street. We're not taking care of our people. And unfortunately, we're not the rich people, right? We can't, they at least try to take care of a few. And the rich people aren't going to do it. The only way they'll give money is if they can write it off on their taxes, for the most part. And I don't think the government cares. So they try to act like they do, but they don't. Sharon says Mark was having trouble on his last live a couple days ago. He was in the woods and no water. Yeah, somebody get that man some water. Tell him that maybe if he could find a natural spring that hasn't been blocked off. There's only one in the area here that I'm aware of that I can publicly access if I ever wanted to. It's right next to the highway, but they've been redoing that highway. So it might affect that, but I hope it doesn't. And the spring doesn't always run, but it's usually running. Not far from that place, these people I know, they didn't have a in-ground well because there's a spring on their property as well. It's really close to the other one, and so they just had like a concrete cylinder sitting down in this hole where the spring was, and they dropped a well pump in there, and they didn't have to dig a well. They had spring water. Well, the highway people come through and basically took their spring. They're going to run the highway. We're over the top of it. They tried to lowball them on the buying that section of the land from them, but they fought to get the price up. But that meant they had no water, so then they had to dig a well. But the government's trying to block people off from springs in a lot of places. They don't want people having access to clean, safe water. They want you to buy their water that they have poisoned with chemicals and claim that those are for your benefit. They aren't. Gene says, yes, Sandra, I've really been praying for him to turn it around and find a stable place. Mr. Lee says, I can't stop looking at the beard. How long is it, Lockbeard? I don't know. I haven't measured it or anything. I can't even really tell you how long it took to grow, because I had it for a while, keeping it at a shorter length, but one day I just let it go. Can you guys hear me all right? It seems like no one's complaining, so hopefully the sound's okay. Gene says, Sharon, is the doctor's thinking once he is hydrated, things will turn out. I'm praying for him too. I told him to keep us posted. I will text him tomorrow and let everyone know. Well, I gotta try and keep up better. He had a stable place. He was living in a church home for the homeless, but he said he was kicked out for not following the rules. What did he do? What did he do wrong? We have a couple of places up in Michigan near me that they built homes into the side of the hill so only one side is exposed, says Gene. Yeah, I mean, that's way better than a freestanding structure. And you can still have windows on that exposed side. And I was even thinking that maybe you could still do an underground home that's kind of a dome shape, except have a quarter pie section out of it, so it circles around like this. If you're looking at it from the top, right? And then you have these two walls here that kind of are still sheltered from high winds, inside there. And then maybe your garage could be going into one part of it, and then the other parts, your living room, your front door, your windows, and you still wouldn't feel like you're just completely in a hole, and you would be far better protected from the elements and lower energy costs. One of these days, if I ever come into money, I might build homes like that. I've kind of wanted to get into rentals, a little bit, and I thought maybe I could, offer something that's far safer for people to live in and cheaper, and of course my maintenance would be better, because once your concrete dome is installed, you're not going to be replacing shingles every 15 years or however long they last. It's going to be harder for them to damage because everything is concrete, right? Just lasts a lot longer and be better. A buddy of mine, I helped him a little bit as he started his rental business, and so learned a lot of things from that. So it seems like something that I would like to do, but it takes money to get started, and I don't have any of that. Sharon says he needs to grow up. He's over 40. He had a good place to stay. Sorry, I'm ranting. Yeah. You can rant if you want to, Mr. Lee says. Mr. Lee, captain of the guard of the Eternus Empire under the benevolent Emperor Salisbury AKA Lockbeard, has given you permission to rant. Gene Hess says, I'm sorry, Lockbeard, but it costs more money to do it wrong than to do it right the first time. And how much life is lost with these fires. Yeah, I agree. In some cases, it may cost, like to build a house, above ground house in a tornado alley here. It may cost a little less to build it above ground than to build it underground, but long term the costs are higher. That's absolutely correct, because if your house blows the hell down and you die, or even if you don't die, it's still going to cost you more, because now you got to build another house. And I guarantee you, building two houses costs more than building one underground house that's of equivalent size. That's just a fact. So it's just people don't want to pay the upfront cost, and you can't make people be properly prepared, and then later on society's paying to save their ass from something. Their failure to prepare becomes all of our responsibility, right? Sharon says, Mr. Lee, thanks. I never say much about anyone. Sandra says, Sharon, Mark had a job but got fired, and from there he went downhill. He needs prayers. Hopefully I can get another job. I seem to be in a weird situation where I'm having a hard time finding work. I don't understand. I think some employers, because the job's not in my field of study, like they're afraid to hire me, I guess, because maybe they think I'm not going to stay. but it seems hard to get back into my field of study. I was in it at one point, but things went wrong. Gene says, not ranting when you are telling the truth, Sharon. You are really worried, so it's fine. Yeah, I know. I'm praying, she says. Gene says, I watched the show when he lost his job and when he got placed at church. Danny says, we have natural springs all around here. They have a big one in the park in Williamston near me. Oh, that's cool. You still have access to it? Will they let you fill up jugs and stuff? Yeah, it's the way it should be anyway. Sharon says, Lockbeard, sorry for ranting on your show. I never talked this much, but I could pop Mark if he wasn't so sick. Oh, you said what you want here. That's one of the reasons why I kind of started this show. So many of the other live streams on YouTube are so freaking totalitarian about their chats and people getting banned for ridiculous reasons. If you challenge, if they have a guest on and you challenge their guest because their guest is making ridiculous claims, they would say, well, you're being disrespectful to the guest. I'm like, no, this guy's lying to me. If anyone's being disrespected, it's me. and I'm not bitching about being disrespected. I'm just challenging the guy's bullshit. And yeah. So yeah, this is a free speech zone right here. I don't care what you say. You can say whatever you want. YouTube will block some stuff on their own. Someone asked me on another stream recently if I was the one that blocked their comment. I was like, no, I have never blocked. I don't even know. Like, okay, I see that I can put the user in timeout, I guess, and I can block the user. I don't know how I would block. Like, it doesn't. I don't know how I would block that individual comment anyway, and I don't care. Someone would have to really say like some like things that are illegal or something. I mean, or trying to flood. Like, so, I've been on a couple of paranormal chats recently where a troll come in and switched between 5 different accounts or names and was dropping N-bombs over and over and over again and flooding the chat and just being like, that's obvious troll, behavior and someone asking challenging questions, that's not being a troll. But some of these other shows they're treating people like they're a troll because they ask challenging questions. You say what you want here. I don't care. Free expression is an extremely important value of mine. You can cuss me if you want to. I don't care. It's free speech zone here. You say what you want. Danny says, if we could hear you, we would let you. If we couldn't hear you, we'd let you know. Okay, just making sure. Mr. Lee 3PL says, we hear you. Where are you, Lockbeard? Where's the Imperial van? I'm in a hotel room right now, Mr. Lee. I had to travel somewhere for a mission. And so that's where I'm at right now. I'll be, my van's parked out this window here, though. Don't worry, the Empire is secure. And one day, this ungrateful world will recognize me as their rightful emperor. Sandra says, Sharon, I hear you loud and clear. Sharon says, I would love a tiny home in the mountains. Yeah. I'd like some more mountainous area than I have where I've been at. I spent most of my recent years in the Ozarks area, and it's pretty hilly and stuff, but it's not nothing like the Rockies or even the Appalachians. Um, you approach the Kiamichis, you don't see the Kiamichi when you come down the highway. Like if you're approaching the Rockies, I don't know if many of you may not have, but if you're approaching the Rockies, you can see them from I don't even know how far away. Very, very, very far away. They're huge. That ain't the way it is with the Kiamichis in Oklahoma. And in fact, when I spent the summer in Colorado with a friend of mine, and I disappeared for a while, and I came back, and he's like, "Where'd you go?" And I said, "Well, I climbed that mountain over there." And he laughed. He said, "That's not a mountain. That's a foothill." Well, so in Oklahoma, it's a mountain. um, but our mountains are mere foothills compared to the Rockies. I'm crashing. Good night. Good night, Danny. Thanks for dropping by. By wishing Dan a good night. Gene Hudson says, I know 4 people looking for work and they are having a hard time. McDonald's won't hire them too educated, and they are hurting for workers everywhere here. Yeah, exactly. It's there's help wanted signs all over the place, but I don't know. I don't know what I want. I don't know if I necessarily want to get back into environmental work anyway. They're doing such ridiculous stuff sometimes. I was kind of thinking about maybe trying to get on with the forestry service, but they won't respond. So I don't know. I don't know what to. I don't know what to do. I can get like random, side jobs and stuff doing kind of construction stuff, but what I need is a regular job. I guess I'm not alone. There's a lot of other people that are in that situation. So I've had people tell me just leave your education off the resume. Well, I never considered that I should lie. I mean, basically, I'd be lying on my resume. Same way here also, it's sad. Lockbeard, what channels are you banned from? I'm probably not going to remember all of them, but Bigfoot Odyssey, Hidden Existence, Paranormal Portal, Trinity. I'm forgetting some, but that's some of them. That's some of them. Mr. Lee. Gene says, if they're willing to work there for a quarter of what they made, why not hire them? They want to work. Yeah, I don't know. And I can't. I mean, I could go to restaurants again. I've done restaurant in the past. And I did a good job. In fact, the restaurant, the primary one, it wasn't just one, but the one I did the most work at, I was there for 10 weeks before I was offered assistant manager job. So if that is any indication, and if that's not talking myself up too much, but But I hate working in a restaurant. You know, you come out of there smelling like fryer grease, and of course they're gonna want me to probably shave my beard. And I'm not. I think I would rather wander off into the woods, never to come back, rather than cut my beard at this point. Gene says I've seen it happen with a troll in chats too. It's getting really bad. Yeah, yeah. Those dang trolls are the real trolls. The real trolls. I mean, some people are trolling, but they're really not a problem. Let them troll. If someone's saying something in the chat that you don't like, just stop reading what they're typing. It's not like you're in a room with them and you can't keep from hearing them, right? In a chat, you you see that name, just skip to the next one. I mean, I have a hard enough time being able to read them all if there gets to be a lot of people. I can't keep up with reading them all. So it shouldn't be any problem with someone just skipping over the words of a person that says things they don't like. So just do that. Or even block them yourself if you want to. I mean, I've got people that have blocked me in the chats. I can't see their words, not from this account. But for the record, you people who have blocked me in the chats, like Long Island Bigfoot and Duke, are you guys listening? I can see what you say from other accounts. You're not hiding at all. I mean, if I don't go over there and check, yeah, but yeah, I'm sure you think you're slick, and you don't want me to comment on some of the things you're saying that are ridiculous. But you're not slick to me. You're being cowardly. Speak openly, or don't. I don't know. I mean, just yeah. Anyway, free speech zone in this chat. That's for sure. Sharon says, I am in the flatland and swamps here in Louisiana. I would settle for a small hill. Yeah. Barry Browning says, greetings, chat. Mr. Emperor. Greetings, Barry. Welcome. Sharon says, they took down all the fire towers here. Everything is done over computers now. Huh. I wonder, are they using sensors so they don't have people watching? I don't know that, things can go wrong. What if someone, not to give anyone ideas, but look, they're going to think of it. Hackers been able to hack into a lot of things, and I would think that they would be able to hack into their little fire system if they wanted to, and maybe prevent the notification of a fire that they themselves started. I don't know. Computers don't always replace a real person. Gene says, Sharon, I am on 5.5 acres surrounded by trees. Can't even see my drive unless you know it is there, and I love it. Yeah. Yeah. Open land, you're exposed. So I like trees and hills and mountains and stuff. Sharon says, Gene, it's getting like that here too. If they can't see my house, it's good. Yeah. Yeah, it's better to be shielded. So yeah, the other part of that story with the mountain is there was a point when I was in Colorado and I went off fishing and I hopped the creek and went over somewhere past there and I came back. My buddy asked me where he been. He said, and I told him, well, I jumped across that creek right there and went over that way to fish somewhere. And he said, he laughed. He said, "That's not a fish. That's not. I'm sorry. That's not a creek. That's the South Platte River." And I said, "Well, in Oklahoma, if we can hop across it, we call it a creek." uh, so it's the opposite. It's the opposite to the mountains for Colorado people. Um, Yeah, I thought for sure back in I think it was the '80s when that major forest fire happened, and I thought that we had learned our lesson, right? That you need to let fires burn, maybe monitor them, maybe control them a little bit. Maybe send a crew in there to kind of uh, you know rake. Uh, uh, Leaves away from the trunk of the tree and move brush away from the trunk of the tree so it doesn't scorch the trunk, but it burns around the trees. And just like I set up when I do a controlled burn on some land, I first thing I do is I go out there and I either rake or use a blower to get the leaves away from the trunk of the tree. And any brush laying next to it, I move it away and might pile it up in some places so it gets a good burn, but away from the trunks so it doesn't damage the trees. And then you can light it on fire and it'll burn all around and clear out all the stuff on the ground. You'll have less insect problems and rodents and ticks and stuff like that. It's just better. Um, to do it that way. If you don't do it that way and it comes through wild during extremely dry conditions, then you're going to have a problem and you're going to kill some of the live trees and it's just not the best way to do it. It's just to let it go. They need to do those controlled burns. Remuel's in the house. Halito. Sandra is leaving the house. Good night. Night for her friends, she says. Everybody saying good night, Sandra. Night, Sandra. Still praying here for you're glad you're a bit better. So, Remiel, what's going on with you? We talked about a variety of subjects, kind of what the random live shows is random. It could be politics or science or movies or whatever you want to talk about. We could talk about paranormal stuff too. That's because most people here come out of the paranormal chats, and the Lockbeard Phenomena show for Saturday nights is primarily the paranormal chat. Probably pretty quick here. I'll get that scheduled so that you'll see the thumbnail for the Saturday night show. I got a picture of Harry from Harry and the Hendersons on the thumbnail. Everybody's greetings to everybody. Ramil says, I love this random format. Lots of ideas. Thank you. Thank you very much. So I don't know how well you can see the picture in the thumbnail for tonight, but you see that same picture around the internet where people criticizing the new He-Man cartoon that Kevin Smith has just shat out. Woke as hell. He-Man's not even really in it much, and they killed him off, and it's not remotely what you would expect it should be. And all the women look like they're as buff as Arnold Schwarzenegger in the show. That's what that picture is on the thumbnail, and they think they're just all progressive and shit, doing things like this. They keep killing off male characters and replacing them with female, and in the process, they actually are disrespecting women and sidelining some good female characters in some cases, but that were there. But they think by transforming everything from male to female, or making females look like males or act like males, that somehow this is, advanced thought. It's woke. It's just hacking everybody off, except for the people on a certain part of the political spectrum who are eating it up, I guess. But they're not the ones who are the fans of that kind of material. Like the He-Man cartoon was basically for little boys. I watched it when I was a little boy, and it was one of my favorite cartoons. Had all the toys and stuff. I'm no longer really interested in watching it, but what I see them doing here is going to affect children today. And destroying all the male heroes is what it seems like they're trying to do. And they're trying to turn little girls into men, into boys. And I'm like, look, what is wrong with the fact that our species is a sexual species with two genders? What is so wrong about that? Why are you guys acting like it's some kind of evil to be female? Because that's really what they're doing. I mean, they're trying to act like we're standing up for... No, you're acting like being feminine is bad. Do they not see the ridiculousness of their position here and what they're doing? So, I mean, look at Evil Lynn. Or even Evil Lynn's got freaking muscles like Arnold Schwarzenegger in there. You talk about unattainable body image ideals. Well, there's some... the only way a woman looks like that is if she's got some serious steroids. That's unattainable. Gene says, I'm sorry, I'm not a woman liver. Never have been. Just because a woman can... don't mean she should, but that's me. Nothing wrong with taking care of a family. Yeah, I mean, well, they're trying to demonize those very valuable feminine roles. They don't like the traditional family, I guess. I mean, I can't believe this is happening. Remiel says, I admire a woman who does anything a man does, but still looks very feminine. Yeah. I think it's okay to admit that there's some things that both genders can't do that the other one can. For the very reason that there were different genders. I mean, a man could never give birth. Um, there are certain aspects of molding a child and raising a child that a man's just never going to be able to do. We need women to fulfill those roles, and they're valuable beyond measure. But they seem to think we can completely do without the masculine role model and the male functions. They seem to think that they want to I guess they want all women. Do they want women to sign up for the draft, for example? Men are built stronger because for the entire existence of our species, it was primarily men who engaged in war, defense. We're supposed, men are supposed to fight men. It's a necessary part of keeping our species strong, but it also kind of sucks. And while the women, stayed behind and made sure the children had some continuity of family after their father died in war if he didn't return. I think they want, but I bet they would change their tune if you said, okay, if you want us to let women in, then, well, they already did, right? They tried to, they couldn't do like certain requirements, physical requirements, like pull-ups and stuff like that. Most women could not meet those physical requirements that were set for men, and so they wanted to get rid of the physical requirements. I'm like, look, if they go into battle, they are way more likely to die if they don't meet certain physical requirements. It's almost like they want to put women in the position to die in war, and if you look at it from a different perspective than what they talk, then it looks like they're actually working against women in multiple different ways. So I hope women are seeing that and thinking about that. Now, that being said, there's been cases where some badass woman went to war and kicked some serious ass. I'm not saying it doesn't happen sometimes, but in general, the female genders is not designed to go to war. And I think most women don't want to sign up for the draft, right? So, yeah, let's keep it that way. Gene says the division of the family really hurt the country. Yeah. I kind of think of it like a gigantic organism, and the family unit is like a cell, and all these cells come together to form the organism or the society. And if the cells start breaking apart, the organism dies. Could lead to, who knows what it could happen, total chaos. I mean, I think we're already starting to see a little bit of that with the riots and stuff that went on. And Sharon Guy, cartoons today are so bad I have to monitor everything my granddaughter watches. Yeah. I had the misfortune of sitting down at some point, and they had SpongeBob on. SpongeBob's kind of nasty. If you sit down and watch that, you think, this has got to be perfectly safe for kids to watch. And there was stuff in SpongeBob I thought, That's not really for kids. Yeah, it's really bad. Sharon says, I like when a man opens the door for me or buys my dinner. I never burnt my bra. I might have hung it on a nail for a little while. Yeah. Jean says, Sharon, I will stand by a door looking at my nails until a man opens my door. I demand it. If I don't respect myself, how can I expect anyone else to respect me? And my son opens doors. I think their plan is to divide us, Jean says. If we are divided, they get away with more. Yeah. Yeah. Sharon says, Jean, yes, indeed. If we don't respect ourselves as ladies and teach our daughters and sons to respect themselves and others, I believe it's a sin. That's why the world is the way it is today. Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's my mother told me something when I was a kid. She said, I mean, basically, you don't hit women, but if a woman puts herself in a man's place, then you treat her as a man until she figures out not to. Which means, yeah, if a woman punches me, then I was supposed to respond in kind, I guess, until she figures out that, she shouldn't be, punching a man. Um, expecting that the man's not going to hit her and she can get away with doing whatever the hell she wants, And there's been cases of men getting abused by their wives and significant others physically. Now, I've never been, in that circumstance, and I don't know if I could. She would have to be getting, like, preventing me from leaving, because anytime I've been in a situation in a relationship where I wasn't being treated the way I wanted to be treated, and I've known of cases where men in some of these circumstances, slapped the female. I just can't bring myself to do it. I would just leave. I leave, get out of the relationship, or just leave. Um, it's unfortunate those situations happen, and there was no way to resolve the situation without some ridiculousness going down. But if I feel it's that bad, I just leave. Usually, it's worked out. So, um, but I don't think a woman's ever punched me. So. But most women, if they punch me, I barely would have. I think I'd barely feel it. Um, Sharon says, I've had to work hard and do men's work plenty of time, but I still dress and act like a lady. Yeah. And that's another thing. Yeah. There's a lot of women out there now that have had a hard time, finding a man, but they don't understand that they try so hard to act like a man that they become unattractive to men, right? Because a man wants a woman that acts like a woman. If she acts like a man, she starts to become unattractive to some men. Um, and that's just a reality. Now, some may be just fine with that, and it's nothing I think that you should attack those men for. They're just, it's instinctual for the most part. We developed under a circumstance where, men were there to, for defense and to take care of their family and in a certain way. And if that's taken away from men in our modern society, that's making it harder to hold families together. Um, because it's gotten to where it's some of that really isn't even required anymore. Um, your family's pretty much safe in a lot of areas, whether there's a man present or not. And I think this causes a degree of a feeling of uselessness for men somewhere subconsciously, right? They may not even realize why they feel unfulfilled. You know, um, I'm having a hard time finding the right words to describe what I'm trying to say, but um, if your biological function seems to be something that you can't fulfill, then you're going to start to experience some psychological distress about that scenario, which may wear on your relationship and on your sanity even. So whereas some people might say, well, that guy was acting out in some way. Well, to a degree, yeah, maybe he should, try to do better regardless of whatever distress he's feeling. But he may be helpless against it. He may not be able to, because there's no way to fix that, right? If you feel on some level that you aren't needed and useful, that could have some psychological repercussions, and I don't think people are realizing this enough out there. That they act like men are just being a bunch of assholes. But I think there's something more going out there that hasn't really been examined very well and thought about. So, and some of those women who can't find men, there's another level of this where, they didn't get married, and they went and they got a career and they make my own money, and they're so proud. I'm standing on my own. I don't need no man. I want a man. Well, you say you don't need a man, and then you want men to gravitate to you, and you wonder why you can't seem to get a man. And part of the problem is they set the standard of he must make more money than me. Well, men that just, hopefully everybody sees this, that's a problem. Men that make more money than her aren't necessarily looking for her. She might not have the qualities that he's looking for. Because for men, a woman that makes a lot of money is almost never important at all. So she's narrowed down her options so far that she's ended up with a list of men who don't want her, and she doesn't fit in their options, and then she wonders why she's still single. She thinks she did what she should do. She was being this independent woman, but in reality, she was destroying her chance at a family, and that's happening a lot. And of course, they don't need me to say anything about this. There's plenty of women online talking about this and how this has been a mistake. This entire idea has been a mistake. but it's hard to reel it back because the government has made it to where it's almost impossible for most families to live on a single income. So, you've taken away the stay at home mother and the housewife, the homemaker, and they demonize these things. The far left does, and these are things that are kind of essential for the most part for stable families. Um, and again, I'm not the best person to talk about this. But whatever. Gene says, me too, Sharon, raised 4 kids on my own, working 4, sometimes 5 jobs, but never tried to be a man. Yeah. Romeo says, women's lib encourages a certain stereotype of women sporting male hairstyle and acting like a man. It doesn't seem right to me. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not looking for a man, so why would I look for a woman who acts like a man? Now, if she's a hard worker, that's a good thing. It's a very good thing. But so being a hard worker isn't necessarily acting like a man. But Gene says, not hard to find a man, but you want the right man. Yeah. Sharon says, Gene, you're right. It's hard to find the right man. Wait, she says, well, I had enough kids to raise. I sure didn't want to retain one that someone else screwed up. Yeah. There was a period in my life where that was kind of something similar was kind of being an issue. Is basically all the women that were my age had already been through a marriage or multiple marriages, and they had kids and all this stuff that you know I'm not taking on, and there's probably you know I know the courts don't seem to rule this way, but in a lot of those cases it's her fault. Now maybe not 100%, and of course some cases it is the man's fault, but no one can pretend that all these women were angels and that some of them weren't um, responsible for the failure of their family, of their marriage. Um, so, and also I was running across some of these, right, in my own age range. And then some that were way younger than me. Um, but there's challenges to that kind of situation too, and age difference can be a challenge. But yeah, so eventually I just kind of gave up on the entire idea. Sharon says, and the same for a man, it's hard to find the right woman for them. Yeah. Gene says, Lockbeard, most women and men want a partner, someone to share a life with, but in today's world, it's hard to find someone who wants a forever, and most don't believe in forever. Yeah. Well, and that's been part of the problem is it's too easy to get a divorce and to walk away. Um, you know, used to that wasn't much of an option, right? You got with a partner, you got married, and you were expected to. That was forever. But nowadays, people get married, and at that time, they full well knowing there's always a way out eventually. It didn't used to be that way. It used to, even if it wasn't like a system where um, they're kind of violent about uh, their enforcement of those ideals, but at the very least, you would experience some social ramifications. People wouldn't look they wouldn't look very fondly upon you for uh, for dropping a marriage, for abandoning, or anything like that. Um, it just wasn't easy. It wasn't easy to end a marriage, but now everyone enters marriages knowing that they can very easily walk away at some point. Um, so I think that's part of the problem. True, it works both ways, Gene says. Gene says, rule was you made your bed, you lay in that bed. Yeah. Yeah. People don't want to do that, though. You see that all the time. They don't want to take responsibility for their actions. They don't want to follow through with their oaths. Um, One situation in this nation that I feel like there is a degree of that. Um, and I don't know if I should go into that or not. But it has to do with gay marriage and stuff. But Sharon says, Gene, right nowadays, they don't even make the bed. Yeah. Gene says, I have to make my bed more than once a day because the male in my life is always messing it up, and he is 1-year-old Patterdale Terrier pup. Yeah. Blame it on the dog. But yeah, these problems are pretty prevalent now already, and I think that some of this stuff they're trying to put into movies and TV and children's entertainment is probably on purpose trying to create more dysfunction going forward. Um, if you don't have cohesive families, um, it makes you harder to control by a government. See, the Catholic Church used this kind of idea long ago, and it's kind of a people are going to have mixed feelings about the idea. Way back in the day, there were often kinship groups, um, strong, strong tied families, patriarchal, of course, and if people in the kinship group got to be too distantly related, they would be kind of married together. They would be married, to keep relation close, and that would make for a more cohesive group, more tied together, um, if that makes sense. Um, and so you would have this large family group, this kinship group that would have a degree of power because they would work together as one, and under the direction of whoever the lead male or males were. And the Catholic Church recognized that this was a problem for them. So they started teaching people, they started creating the demonization of marrying cousins and stuff like that. And they weren't marrying very close typically, but sometimes. But by doing that, they eventually started to create less cohesiveness in family in these kinship groups, and the family started to get more and more fragmented. And until today, it's gotten to the point where even siblings aren't very close anymore. They drift apart. The family cohesiveness has been broken up. Now that sounds like an advocacy for incest, which sounds really bad, but that's how it went down. And I don't know if there's anything we can do to reverse that process and restore large, strongly tied families that stick together, but that's how they manage to break up powerful families. A lot of people seem to think they draw these connections with the very extremely powerful people running our nations, and showing that there's family relationships amongst them. So it makes me wonder if they aren't, in fact, such a kinship group that has maintained its cohesiveness and worked together to take over the world. Can't say that with absolute certainty, but sure seems to be some indication of that. Sharon Guy says, Gene, me too. Mine is 5-year-old granddaughter. Sharon, my 8-year-old granddaughter tears the whole house up when she comes doing gymnastics. Gene says, yep, I'm always picking up after this one. Gene says, I enjoy these days, Sharon. She will be in school soon and you will really miss her. Sharon says, Lockbeard, thanks for letting me and Gene talk. You're a sweetheart. Oh, you're welcome. Talk all you want. People need to talk about stuff. Even gossip, has its function in societies. Now we've all encountered that person who takes gossip too far and creates problems. But there's always going to be someone that takes things to an extreme, right? But I think gossip actually serves a function in a society. And I remember in the movie Crocodile Dundee, where they were talking about they had a problem, and Crocodile Dundee says, because you remember his buddy from Australia, Walt, the older man who kind of embellished some of his stories and stuff like that. But anyway, Crocodile Dundee said, back home, if you got a problem, you tell Walt. Walt tells everybody else, no more problem. And I think there's some truth to that, because when Walt tells everybody about your problem, he's technically gossiping, but maybe you're airing something out so that people can just deal with it, or maybe you're letting everyone know that Mick's got a problem over here, and somebody else who can solve that problem hears about it through Walt. So I think gossip is actually, comes from a need, a social need in the human psychology to help us work things out. but it's just that sometimes people, take it too far, and can really cause problems. Sharon says, Jean, she starts on the 11th. I'm so worried about her, but I know she has to go. Thought about homeschooling her, but she needs that time with her kids. Yeah, they need to go to school. They'll be fine. I just worry about what they teach them, Well, it's after 1 a.m. here. It's kind of late. Been on here for 2 hours, 26 minutes. So I think I'll call her quits for the night. And thank everybody for coming. Jean says, Sharon, when she gets home, just ask her to tell you everything that happened at school. That way she will tell you problems. Most ask, how was your day? Not much to say to that. Jean says, thanks, Lockbeard. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah. I've done a lot of these random lives this week. I don't know if I'll keep up that much, doing it that much, but I don't got anything else going on. So I don't know if you guys keep showing up. I'll keep doing them. I think a lot of the people that are in the Bigfoot into things may not like these as much. So, but I mean, the Saturday night show is going to be for paranormal type stuff. Although it sometimes gets diverged from that by people in chat, which is fine. I don't care. We'll talk about whatever. But I'll try to keep the focus on paranormal on Saturday nights, and because that's what most of the people that are coming to my chats are interested in. It's going to be some Bigfoot talk Saturday. I picked the picture of Harry from Harry and Henderson's for a reason, and you'll see. So, good night, everybody. Thanks for coming. Good night, Rob. Good night, Sharon. And I'll see you next time. Thanks.